All right, well, you can never question my dedication covering the 49ers. Moody weather behind me here in the Sierra Nevada. It's so foggy that we cannot even see the trees in the mountains. And it's literally, I mean, this is the type of fog that has essentially turned into rain. So it's raining on me. I found a way to get the computer covered because when it's Moody behind us, we have to do a Moody update, which means an update on Jake Moody, everybody's favorite kicker. Just kidding on that last part. But it is a kicker who a lot of people want to talk about because the 49ers have four options with Jake Moody. And a lot of them won't satisfy people watching this show, but we tell it how it is. So let's go through the 49ers options at the kicker spot this offseason. Obviously, the context is struggle. Last year, Jake Moody finished 11 of 20 on field goals. That's not good. It was a really, really bad finish. But it all came after a high ankle sprain, and he started 14 of 15. So when I asked John Lynch about this about a month ago at the NFL Combine, well, he acknowledged that the injury is part of the 49ers consideration here. They still believe in Jake Moody. They think that this guy can bounce back when he's healthy. They thought that they might have rushed him back a little too quickly last year, but they think he's going to bounce back and play up to his talent. That being said, the 49ers also are considering bringing competition in. So the four options are A, add a rookie kicker at or after the draft. At the Shrine Bowl, we know that the 49ers were in contact with at least one kicker. The Shrine Bowl was a while ago. That was all the way back in February. So that's an option, or even January. Yeah, the Shrine Bowl's in January. February, I believe, that was the Super Bowl. I don't know if any of the showcase games were in February. So back in February, 49ers were in contact with at least one kicker. It was the guy out of Miami. We can talk about him in a little bit. But at the draft or after the draft, if you don't want them to use another third-round pick on a kicker, the 49ers can add a rookie. He'd be in the building in time for OTAs. 49ers could watch both Moody and the new kicker kick at OTAs. If you draft somebody, well, they have to come, right? That if they want to play football in the NFL, they have to play for you. I think that option A is probably more realistic to execute at around this time of the year or during OTAs than signing a veteran kicker, because any veteran kicker who could be serious competition for Jake Moody might want to wait until closer to the regular season to sign on to a situation where there's another kicker already under contract. So that leads me to option B. The 49ers can also add a veteran kicker after July 21st. Why July 21st? Well, that's right around the start of training camp, but that is when free agency officially ends. So the official opening of free agency was a couple weeks ago at the start of March, the new league year. Free agency then ends on July 21st, and it doesn't preclude you from adding players after that date, but they no longer count against the compensatory formula. So the comp picks, 49ers have had the most comp picks in NFL over the past 4 years. They're on track to have 25 comp picks over 5 years when next season's picks are counted, but the formula is still being worked on this year. So anybody whom the 49ers add before the window closes on July 21st, especially if it's a slightly higher priced kicker, somebody like Nick Folk, I'll get to him in a little bit, but anybody who the 49ers add could count against their compensatory formula and hurt them as far as the 4-player picks that they're scheduled to get right now. On top of that, again, a veteran kicker might not be all too eager to sign on to just be one of 2 kickers on a team during OTA. So you have some guys that are still sitting at home who probably won't be all that eager to sign until closer to training camp. And for the team itself, after July 21st makes sense. Now, the drawback to this is that Jake Moody is just going to be kicking during OTAs. There'll be no pressure on him. But if you're the 49ers, maybe you can look at Jake Moody's form. You could look at his confidence. You probably have talked to soccer teams about this high ankle sprain that he had and how it affects guys kicking. You can see if he's made some progress over OTAs before you consider your next steps. Man, this is the rainiest fog I've ever been in. It never questioned my dedication. We're talking about kickers right now in Sierra Nevada fog in 42-degree weather. At least it's spring, right? Option C is to roll only with Jake Moody. And I guess I outlined part of that option in option B. But just go with Jake Moody until the wheels come off. And if the wheels come off early in the 2025 season, just sign somebody else then. So just see if Jake Moody can sink or swim by himself. You obviously, I think, run the risk of allowing these struggles to continue into weeks 1 or 2. I think that kicker is a position where these guys are kind of like independent contractors, right? You just bring a guy in and you don't really need chemistry with the rest of the team on the same level as you would at wideout or quarterback or really anywhere else. He needs chemistry with the kicking battery. And they brought John Weeks in to replace Tabor Pepper, so they have upgraded at the long snapper position. I do think that is significant because I think that might have been behind some of Moody's struggles last season. I think there was some inconsistency at long snapper based on what I understand. But kicker you could bring in at essentially any time. You've got a 39-year-old veteran long snapper who's done a lot of good stuff in this league over a long time now. We'll see if Mitch Wishnowski's still the punter and the holder by the time that September runs along. But if Jake Moody's still struggling and the 49ers have to bring in somebody else, you would think that with Weeks as the long snapper and with whomever the 49ers put in there as the holder, you would think that the new special teams coordinator, Brant Boyer, will make sure that's all buttoned up. You would think that they could plug and play a new kicker relatively seamlessly. It is the NFL after all. And that's why the heat is on Jake Moody. That's why the leash is going to be short for Jake Moody entering this 2025 season. You've got to make your kicks in the National Football League. And then the option D is the one that everybody watching this show, or I would say 95% of people watching this show is probably voting for, and that is replace Moody immediately. The 49ers are not going to do that. He's still under contract for 2 more seasons. He was a third-round pick who had a lot of talent, or I would say still has a lot of talent. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen long 50-yarder, 50-plus yarders from Moody. We saw the long one that he made in the Super Bowl. We saw the 14-15 start to begin last season. Yes, there obviously is talent there. And there also is precedent of a kicker drafted in the 3rd round by the 49ers, cut by the 49ers not too long after he was drafted, turning into a good kicker in the National Football League. The 94 49ers drafted Doug Bryan. You probably know the name if you're a football fan, if you've been watching this for a while. Doug Bryan joined San Francisco as a rookie for their most recent Super Bowl winning team and struggled. 49ers were good enough to overcome it in 94, cut him in 95. Went on to have a productive career over a decade in the NFL. So, there's no upside to cutting Jake Moody right now. None of his money is guaranteed for the 2025 or the 2026 seasons, but you have team control, and he would likely be scooped up by somebody else who would think that they can fix him because that has happened with kickers in the past. So I think that I've advocated this entire offseason for either option A or option B. I think the 49ers would be best off bringing in competition for Jake Moody. And whether they think that competition needs to be in there by OTAs or if it needs to be in there by training camp, I don't know. Brant Boyer will have his thoughts on this. This is the new special teams coordinator. Maybe they just want to see Moody's kicking mechanics without pressure in OTAs because they're still 5 months away from a football game. But then during training camp, you obviously have to ratchet up the pressure. OTAs can be more of the technical focus, and then the pressure cooker can open up in training camp. In that case, I think option B, adding a veteran kicker, would make sense. Now, the most appealing veteran kicker on the market, this is really, really interesting to me. Nick Folk, who's 40 years old, but past 2 seasons with the Titans has missed 1 field goal apiece with a long make of 56 yards. So this guy's obviously kept himself in shape. He's kicked for a whole bunch of different teams, with the Jets way back in the day, with the New England Patriots for a while, and most recently with the Titans. Experienced kicker, a little bit younger than Robbie Gould. Gould is obviously retired at this point, but somebody who his 2 best field goal percentages in his entire career have come over the last 2 seasons. So Nick Folk is a free agent. Now, somebody like Folk, if we try to reconcile this with the different plans the 49ers might have or the different options they might have, option B, I think that Folk might, especially if Moody's still around, might not want to sign right now. So this might be, and the 49ers might not want to sign a veteran to hurt their comp formula. So this could be something that doesn't happen until after July 21st. You know who else is available? Is the really buff guy, Joey Sly. Yes. That is a kicker. Joey Sly, former 49ers kicker, Joey Sly. When was he with the team? 2020? I think it was 2020 when he was filling in for a little while. It is the most jacked kicker of all time. That's Joey Sly in some Panthers warm-ups. he's a kicker that makes on average about 78 to 80% of his kicks. So this is not a world-beating kicker, and this is probably somebody that 49ers fans might be continually frustrated with, even if they do move on to Jake Moody, even though he is really buff. It's not a bench pressing competition, though. It's a kicking, it's a precision competition, it's a mental competition among everything else. Nick Folk over the past 2 seasons, and that's not Nick Folk, so I'll take Folk off the screen. But Folk over the past 2 seasons has been a 95% plus kicker, the 2 best percentages of his career. If you go with the 28-year-old option instead, Joey Sly, this is probably somebody that's going to give you about 80%. Jake Moody's first season was 84% for the 49ers. So, and then obviously this past season, 14 to 15 was really good. That's 95% or so, right? That's definitely above 90%. But the 11 of 20, that's about 55%. The 11 of 20 finish after the high ankle sprain is where things got really ugly for Jake Moody to finish the 2024 season. No more Tabor Pepper. He has been cut. The 49ers, again, have gone to John Weeks. We'll see what kind of difference that makes. But I think one of the most fascinating things is how they've been looking at soccer players. And they've been talking to soccer teams about the high ankle sprain that Jake Moody has. And remember that Lynch acknowledged at the NFL Combine when I asked him about this, that the 49ers might have brought Jake Moody back too quickly. The game that he returned was that one against Tampa Bay, where Tabor Pepper and Deebo Samuel got into it because Deebo was coming over there and trying to get into Jake Moody's face saying, hey, lock in, I think is what the word was from Deebo Samuel. Tabor Pepper didn't like Deebo talking to the kicker, and he got involved. And now neither Tabor nor Deebo is on the team, but Jake Moody still is on the team, and we're going to get to see what happens next. It's a perfect Moody 49ers update. You guys can see the grill right here. Just made some really nice pizza on it. Got one of those big green egg knockoffs. It's an acorn, I think. Yeah, they call it an acorn. I got it up to 700 degrees. It's still warm. But it's cool enough. I've been able to shut it down. Everybody's inside. They're eating the pizza. I said, hey, I've got to go outside. I've got to run the Moody 49ers update before sunset. We did shows here after some of those playoff games, and it was epic because we got the view of Mount Whitney. We got the sunset. We got everything. And then I show up in February, and we didn't get the sunset, but we got some trees in the background with the clouds over them. I did the first ever Moody 49ers update then. Now, there's a squirrel. Cool. I wish the squirrel would join our show. That would be fun, but I doubt that he has the courage to do that. Anyway, that was our first ever Moody 49ers update because it was aptly named. You could start to see some of the snow behind me. I think some of the fog might be starting to clear. You can only see the very near tree. You can't see any of the bigger trees that are a little bit further back. Anyway, so Mike and I said it's a good time for another Moody 49ers update because I think that, just for education purposes, people should know what the 49ers are doing with their compensatory picks. And option B, July 21st, that is an important date to remember. The end of free agency, the start of training camp, nothing will count against the compensatory formula after July 21st. In fact, I should probably show you the comp picks on Over the Cap to show you what the formula looks like for the 49ers already this season. This will help you make sense of what San Francisco is working with, because at the moment, Over the Cap is projecting them to have only 3 comp picks. So I think one of their signings ended up canceling a comp pick out. So as you can tell, this formula is definitely delicate. Here you go. Here are the 49ers. Maybe a zoom in. There we are. San Francisco right in the middle of the screen. So it is tallied by compensatory free agents lost and compensatory free agents gained. Now, this is just a guess from Over the Cap, but they've done a decently good job projecting this. They were wrong on the level of one of the comp picks for the 49ers this year. I know that disappointed some fans, but by losing Aaron Banks at $19.2 million, Charvarius Ward at $18 million, and Talanoa Hufanga at $13 million, with no offsetting compensatory free agents, because the highest priced guys that came in were Luke Farrell, Demarcus Robinson, and Mac Jones. The 49ers stand to receive a 4th-round pick for Aaron Banks in next year's draft, a 4th-round pick for Charvarius Ward, and a 5th-round pick for Talanoa Hufanga. As you can see, Jalen Moore canceled out by Mac Jones, Dre Greenlaw canceled out by Luke Farrell, Josh Dobbs canceled out by Demarcus Robinson. So right now, you look at the July 21st date as that date where anything that happens before then with free agents who factor into the compensatory formula can be put onto this chart, and it could cost the 49ers draft picks in the future, which is why, I mean, you might as well be extremely careful with how you operate if you're not going to add somebody that's going to add any kind of big time impact. You don't just want to throw money around because that formula is delicate. We've seen that in the past when the 49ers have not gotten the compensatory selection that they were expecting to get last year. It was the Niners and Buffalo who both felt jobbed by the entire system, and they thought they were going to get a much higher pick. I think they ended up getting a 4 or 5. I forgot where it was last year, but Brandon Beane, the GM of the Buffalo Bills, was not happy about it. You fast forward to this 2025 season, and I think a lot of people expected one of the higher fourth-round picks because of one of the 49ers departures, but instead they got a second, seventh-round compensatory picks. They're going to be picking 3 times in the 7th round this year. It is extremely important to play that process well. If you're a team that wants to be perennially good, and the 49ers have been good for a long time, with last season obviously being a big exception, you're going to have to refill through the NFL draft, period. That's what the Rams, even the Rams, like if even the Rams decided that they had to refill through the NFL draft after that disastrous 2022 season, it was their Super Bowl hangover season. The Rams, that's the F them picks team, right? That's Les Snead not caring about draft picks back in 2021. The Rams, after, winning the Super Bowl and then taking their punches in 2022, going 5-12, said, oh boy, well, yeah, we're getting old. We're getting expensive. We're not hungry. Our defense is tumbled. This team is not fast. It's not hungry. We have too many injuries. We got to go back to the lifeblood. We have to go young. We pursue youth, pursue speed, pursue efficiency. That's what the Rams said after the 2022 season. And even the team that was most obsessed with instant gratification in that LA market back in 2021, they went full draft mode in 2023. And that's what the 49ers are doing here, because guess what? The 49ers last season were too slow. They were too injured. They weren't hungry enough. Their defense was horrific. All of their hustle metrics weren't good. So you look at run defense. That's the number one hustle metric, was atrocious for San Francisco in 2024, ranked number 29. So they said, we can't get any worse if we go to younger guys. Why are we paying, out the door for players like Leonard Floyd, for players like Malik Collins, if they're not stopping the run, if they're not at the very bedrock of this defense? So the 49ers said, let's go full Rams mode. And by Rams mode, we mean I don't think they're going to go full Rams mode. I take that back. But by Rams mode, I would mean 36 rookies on the initial 90-man roster. The 49ers, and I wrote about the whole Rams formula up on the San Francisco Standard. You can see it here. The one thing I wanted to show you, because we were talking about it earlier this week, this is the construction of the defensive lines of both of these teams, with the middle column being draft or acquisition method. And if a player was acquired through the draft or as a UDFA, his column there is shaded in a color. 49ers line in 2024 versus the Rams line in 2024. Look how much more robust the Rams were built through the draft than the 49ers, who were just, running on fumes, going after these free agents. Leonard Floyd, Yetur Gross-Matos still with the team, Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, but he may not be with the team for long. 49ers want to make it look a little bit more like this. And the grades were better for the Rams too. Now, the Rams improved also over the course of the season. It was a growth trajectory for the Rams. I talked about this, I think, yesterday. Number 29 defense over the first 3 months. Number 5 defense over the last month, plus the playoffs for the Rams. 49ers are going to be trying to make a similar kind of push here this year with their focus on the draft. Anyway, Moody 49ers update. I'm still in the rain, getting a little bit wet. It's the fog. It's not really the rain. Anybody from the Bay Area would kill me for calling fog rain. But let's answer your questions and go from there? Rick Allen, what's funny about, I haven't read any of the comments yet. The first one I open up. What's funny about the comments is that no one here works for the NFL or the 49ers. Yeah, a lot of times we get commenters who think that they know best, and it's like, dude, you're sitting on your couch right now. All due respect, I really appreciate that you watch, and please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button because that helps the channel. But I say that the mass majority of people are respectful, but then you have people coming and acting like they're an NFL GM. And you can be an NFL GM on your couch if you build your roster with the tool that I made for you a couple weeks ago. But way too often you have people thinking that they know better than actual football professionals. And if that's the case, get into the business. Go be a scout. Go try to work your way up the ladder. See how difficult it is in this league. It's an ultra competitive league. But it's just funny to see a comment like this from Rick Allen. Do I think the Niners will end up trading Aiyuk? I'm on the record saying multiple times that I don't think it's likely. It's obviously possible, but he's got a torn ACL and MCL, and that really hurts a player's trade value. I think that the likeliest scenario and probably the best possible path for the 49ers to get to a good spot with Brandon Aiyuk is for him to return and start delivering the separation that he did before he got hurt. Even last year, he was separating. Well, he wasn't playing well. He was dropping a lot of passes, and they just didn't seem in sync with Brock Purdy. The separation numbers were still fine. What they need is separation. And Brandon Aiyuk, when he's healthy, can do that. So I think because there isn't a whole lot of tradability there, I think the likeliest scenario is he's back with the 49ers, and they're hoping that he can round back into form for this football team because they were really, really shorthanded at the pass-catching positions last season. Will they draft a running back? I think so. I think that the running back position for the 49ers is ripe for a draftee. I did my first 53-man roster projection yesterday. We can take another look at it right here. But if you look at the running back position, which I'm highlighting, McCaffrey, Garendo, Taylor, Israel, Abanikanda, who, didn't ever graduate to active game day roster in his time last year, even though they were completely short on running backs. So Patrick Taylor Jr. was the only healthy running back on the active roster then this season. So I don't know if Abanikanda is a player who the 49ers are counting on to be in this rotation. They've typically carried 4 running backs. They've got 3 on the 53-man projection right now. I think it's a great running back class. Really good time probably to add another one through the NFL draft. Eric Gomes, BA needs a return and redemption year. Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be good for everybody involved, including the 49ers. Again, Moody 49ers update. We're outside. Those of you just joining, I know it's a live, so that's why I repeat myself sometimes. The grill is cooling off. I'm keeping an eye on the grill. I can see it here through the screen. It's getting dark. Sunset, I think, technically today was right around right now. Let's see what time sunset was. It's 7:12 p.m. here in the Pacific time zone. Shaver Lake sunset time, 7:11 p.m. Yeah, so sunset was a minute ago. Not like I would know since it's so foggy out here, but I still think it's a cool backdrop for the show. What kind of pizza did I make? Man, wish that maybe we could bring some of that pizza out here. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me see. Hey, they can't hear me inside. Can you bring out a pizza? Is the pizza still there? I want to show the pizza. Okay, I think the pizza's coming. So I think we're going to see it. Drum roll while we wait for the pizza. Good 49ers questions while we wait for the pizza. Oh, do this while we wait for the pizza. We're going to be the first channel here to 100,000 real subscribers. All right, the pizza's made it. Thank you. This is it. Oh, yes, this works perfectly. I'll give it back to you in a second. There it is. So I think we got some prosciutto on there. I think that we have some, what else was on there? Do you remember? Obviously mozzarella, Parmesan, Italian seasoning. And it all came out of the grill back there, about 700 degrees. All right, I'm going to go eat this in a bit, but I'll stay here for now. Thank you. I appreciate it. My dad brought the pizza out, and you guys got to see it. And while you were looking at the pizza, realize that I am not eating the pizza right now because I'm busy talking to you guys. So I think that we do deserve a nice little click on the subscribe button. 100,000 real subscribers. We don't buy fake subscribers on this channel, and our views on this channel, it's almost embarrassing, guys. Like, it's 4 to 5x, sometimes 10x, sometimes 20x, sometimes 30x of the other channels. So you guys have really helped bring the momentum to the channel. This is by far the best place to watch 49ers analysis, see all my takes, see all my news, and then get pizza in with it. So I really appreciate your subscriptions. This is all part of a great community, and we've built something awesome over the course of the past few seasons. This is true. I'm the only 49ers content creator that stays even keel and does not freak out. I've noticed a lot of people freak out, and it's ridiculous. And they think that they're going to get more clicks or more views by doing it. Well, maybe if you just stayed even keeled, you could end up in the spot that we're in. We're looking really good as a channel. So I really appreciate it. I'm going to answer a few questions here as we wrap up the night. Joey Sly and Anders Carlson. Somebody says, Dan says that. But the problem is Anders Carlson's under contract with the Jets right now. So Anders would not be a option for the 49ers, at least at this moment. Next time, my dad is a good man. Yes. Shout out to Alan Lombardi. Shout out to Facts Over Feelings. I love how you spelled facts. Next time we're going to live stream smoking a brisket. Yeah, maybe I could even live stream, could set up the camera this way, and we could grill some pizza while we do a 49ers show. I think that could be good. Brian is asking 55 plus for Purdy. My guess is like, I projected 61 just to show people what it would look like, but I wouldn't be surprised with 58 or 59. Again, APY, not to me, it's not all that important. Maybe it is for Purdy. Well, we'll see. But it's going to be a hefty deal. It's going to be an A-list quarterback deal, and he will have deserved it. I do not have a season record prediction. I don't believe in doing that. I think it's clickbait to do that before the NFL draft. I mean, come on. We don't need the 49ers have clearly broadcast they're building this team in large part through the draft. So how the hell can we, in good faith, make a record prediction? That would be me just trying to get eyeballs, and that would be a cheap way to do that. So we'll wait a little bit later until we actually know what the 49ers are going to be working with as a roster. You want me to eat the pizza before it gets cold? Yeah, but there's a lot of people watching right now. And I think I'm your only option right now, right? Because there's not a whole lot going on in the 49ers news world. So everybody else is taking some time off, but we're just going to be sitting here talking about the 49ers and answering your questions for a few minutes. I could always toss the pizza into the oven. It came out of here at 700 degrees, and it was really, really nice. Jared asks, how many picks do you think the 49ers spend on the lines? They also need a wide receiver, running back, a linebacker, and secondary depth. I think they need to spend 4 to 5 picks on linemen. That would be a lot, but I don't know if they're going to spend 4 or 5. I think they'll spend a handful, and I guess 4 or 5 could qualify as a handful. One thing that you said, secondary depth, though, I'm not so sure that is a pronounced need. Teal is the players they've signed in free agency. They've added a lot of secondary depth in free agency. I mean, they've really, really stacked up on it to the point where, yeah, if you run into DB that you really like, go ahead and draft him. But is it a massive need at this point? I even think they found their third cornerback, Trey Brown. They found good safety depth that can push Jair Brown and Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock. So I don't think that the secondary is some kind of must draft. I think that, yes, linebackers, the red is where they have holes. Linebacker, defensive line. I do think this is the draft. You try to get a tackle, at least somebody who could be developmental for you. Unless you just say screw it and you draft Armand Membu in the first round. But I don't know if he drops down to number 11. In fact, I doubt that. So we'll see how they do this. What I do know is that there is a big supply of defensive linemen. There's a really big supply of D linemen. So I talk about Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. If you used your 11 on him, you could still get a couple really good defensive linemen later on. Or you can go the 2 Michigan man route, right? You could go Mason Graham with your 11th pick, and then you could trade back up into the first round and grab Kenneth Grant. You could pull a Rams, right? We talk about the Rams model. Well, they got 2 guys out of the same school, Florida State. with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. So you never know either until the draft is actually on the clock. The 49ers don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have their options. They're going to have the players they like. They're going to have their board, and they're going to go at it. And it's going to be like a game. And they're going to have to adjust, adapt as the draft progresses. As Mark says, Purdy brought the 49ers back in the Cleveland game. Moody lost it. Yeah, that was tough. But then they ended up getting the 1 seed anyway. That was week 6 of 2023. And let me, just to be fair, Moody, rookie that year. Cleveland is a tough place to kick. The wind swirls there coming off of Lake Erie. As AJB says, this draft is crucial. Why isn't Juwan Jennings a pillar at wide receiver? That's a good question, and it's because I want to see the 49ers commit to him as a pillar. He's on the lame duck year of his contract. You do not let pillars play on the lame duck year of their deals. So Purdy, yes, lame duck year, but they're working on an extension right now. I think they're going to extend Juwan Jennings this offseason. At least I think it would be extremely smart of the 49ers to do so. But until it actually happens, I can't make him a pillar. Now, it's funny because Brandon Aiyuk was a pillar to begin last year. Then, it all devolved. He can re-earn that status. That's still possible. But a lot of people were saying, ooh, the 49ers paid the wrong receiver when Juwan Jennings went off early in that year. So Juwan is not as far from being a pillar as some might think. Should have had a 1,000-yard receiving season. That was the fault of the officials and not of Juwan Jennings. I did go skiing over the course of the past 2 days. We'll have some footage from skiing. I mean, you saw the videos from skiing. Go watch the videos. They're uploaded videos that I put up on YouTube yesterday, today. It's the 49ers alarm update. Every morning we've got the 49ers alarm update, so make sure that you subscribe for that. Let's check in with Mike. I think Mike's somewhere in Northern California this weekend. Mike does like some cool hiking. He always sends me these photos. It's like, where the hell are you? And he's like, oh, I'm in Oroville or somewhere up there. Who's from Oroville here? I'm sure there's some 49ers fans up from Oroville. Mike was on what looked to be an awesome hike in Oroville today. Do I think the 49ers will sign C.J. Mosley? No. I don't think they're going to go for pricier veterans to fill these spots, especially older guys. I think they're trying to go super, super cost controlled to give rookies a chance because they need youth, they need health, they need hunger on defense. And C.J. Mosley's a really good player, don't get me wrong, but I think that this is a concerted effort on the draft for the 49ers. Now, after July 21st, once the season starts, once you see where this team is going and you have a better idea of what you have and you don't have, could they be players on the trade market before the trade deadline? Absolutely. Could they look to scoop up some guys who are still free agents near training camp? Absolutely. So it's going to be really, really dependent on situation. 49ers want to maintain as much option power as possible moving forward. It's going to be a season of optionality. And guess what? Focusing on the draft, flooding your team with as many rookies as possible when you have the most draft picks in the NFL, that is actually a great way to maintain as much option power as possible. Greg thinks the 49ers need to get a linebacker in the draft. I've only talked about the very top linebacker in the draft, Jihad Campbell. I'll talk about more over time. Heard from my buddy Mark, who might be watching right now. We're going to be visiting him in Whitefish, Montana next week. That's where Eddie D is at, in Whitefish. And supposedly they got a foot of snow in Whitefish. That is going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait. Shows from Whitefish, Montana. There obviously is going to be some snow on the ground there after their foot this weekend. Ricky misses the driverless car ride videos. Well, good news. I'm going to be in San Francisco either Monday or Tuesday. You're probably going to get a couple of those. A lot more San Francisco time for me over the course of the next few months. I know I was out of the city for a couple months after the season, but the dead of the off season is close to ending. The draft is coming. I'll be in the Bay Area for that, and we're going to get plenty of driverless car videos. This draft isn't the fix-all, be-all. Next year's draft and free agency class will solidify the roster. You're constantly having to solidify the roster. That's a year. Last year, the 49ers already had a good draft class. That was huge. Well, when we look at the Rams model, building this defensive line, remember that they got started after their bad season. The 2023 and 2024 draft classes were the killer draft classes for the Rams. They were able to build the defensive line primarily through what they did in these 2 years. We talk about how many linemen should the 49ers draft. 2023, here, let's see how many the Rams drafted over 2 seasons. 1, 2, that's Byron Young, Jared Verse. Brennan Jackson is 3. Nick Hampton is 4. Kobe Turner is 5. Braden Fisk is 6. Tyler Davis is 7. DeJuan Johnson is 8. They drafted 8 defensive linemen over 2 seasons, the Rams did. So that was 2023 and 2024. Keep in mind, I know the 49ers haven't invested in the trenches outside of Dominic Pooney and I guess Jarrett Kingston last year, 2 offensive linemen, but they haven't drafted a defensive lineman in quite some time. But they had a really good draft class in 2024. And I think that is significant because it gives them a head start on this whole replenishment effort moving forward. Need a draft like 1986. How about 85? That one was good too, right? 85 at Jerry Rice. I know 86 was a really famous 49ers draft. Just draft well. Year in, year out. They drafted well last year, stack it this year. The bad drafts, minus Brock Purdy, obviously, because he was an awesome pick, but 2021, 2022, especially 2022 and 2023, did not net the 49ers all too much. But they also traded away picks, to be able to draft up and get Trey Lance. That cost them a lot, but Christian McCaffrey, I think that was worth it, but it cost a lot. Now you've got the full cupboard. You've got 11 picks, and you could go for it if you're the 49ers. All right, it is pitch black. It is dark outside. Not pitch black, but it's pretty dark. So this is it. The Moody 49ers update is in 37 minutes in the fog. Never say that I'm not dedicated. Make sure that you do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Seriously, do that right now. Helps the channel a lot. We will be the first to 100,000 real subscribers. It's going to be really good. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. More from the mountains tomorrow.